Howdy there, folks. Welcome into today's video. Palantir, Tesla, Meta. We got some big news to discuss in regards to those stocks. We got to talk about Nike earnings just came out. The stock's flying high. It's a stock I've been buying recently. What am I going to do moving forward? We'll look at their earnings. Got a lot of other stocks to speak about in today's video. Also, some things in regards to the market to speak about that are very, very large things that are going on out there. So appreciate everybody joining me as always. I appreciate y'all. And yeah, we got a lot to get into in this video, so I just want to get straight into it. But before we get into all that, I need to apologize. Yesterday's video, I made some sort of comment around, oh, no one watches my channel that was born before 1960 or something silly like that. And I gotta say, I received a lot of comments from a lot of people that were born before 1960 indeed. This, I think it was a woman here left a comment, said, yep, I'm old, born well before 1960, left this message too, I can do it. My grandmother was born before 1890, never too old to learn. Keep up the good work, Jeremy. I gotta say, like, all the folks that did leave comments and were a little older, man, oh man, the comments were so sweet. You guys are like, God bless you and your family. Just like such nice comments. I was like, oh my gosh. This one says, my dad asked me to leave this message for him. He was born before 1950 and doesn't care if you think he can leave a comment or not. That sounds like something that if somebody was born before 1950, that sounds like something they would say. Honestly, they don't care. They don't give a rat's crap if I believe they can leave a comment or not. So anyways, appreciate everybody joining me as always. Mentally, I always think like, oh, everybody's got to be, 25 to 45 years old that watches my channel. So I appreciate everybody that watches it that is either really young or, let's just call it reaching the prime of their lives. Okay, the best time ever. All right. Alright, because hey, by the time you get to those ages, like you already been through all the BS of life, man. You already went through it all by that stage, okay? So mortgage rates hit a 23-year high. I thought we'd start this before we get into all the stock news and all the market news, because I think this is the biggest news in my personal opinion of the day. 23-year high, folks, mortgage rates are at now. And the problem is we haven't really seen home prices come down that much. Something's got to give. It feels like a rubber band that's just stretched so far, eventually something's going to break here, folks. It's either going to be home prices or it's going to be mortgage rates. I don't know which, but something's going to break, okay? It's getting ugly. Look at this chart here. I understand a lot of you guys just kind of listen to videos and you don't actually maybe actively watch, have the videos on in your headphones or whatever, and you kind of just listen to the videos. But look at this chart I'm showing you right now, folks, okay? Check this out. You have to go all the way back to around like 2000, 2001 to get in this sort of range we're at now for a 30-year fixed mortgage rate, okay? Whew. We're way higher than we were prior to the great financial crisis now at this point in time, folks. That is downright scary. Look at this message somebody left here. I thought this was very interesting. It says, likely not an issue for the wealthy. Those looking for starter homes are hosed and will have to continue renting, even as rents rise dramatically, right? Yes, until the economy breaks, and then you got a different situation. But, it does lead me to a thought process. I don't know how many of you guys know about kind of my childhood and whatnot, but essentially, my second home was Sun City and Sun City West. So through a lot of my childhood, I grew up in a neighborhood called Maryvale. It was a very rough neighborhood, but my parents always worked out here. My mom cleaned homes, and then my dad cleaned pools. And so when all the other kids would get done school and I would get done school, I would go work with my dad all summer. And so I was always around folks that were retired. Sun City West. And, as I got older and got more educated and kind of figure out what was going on and whatnot, right? Which I think it's a little fascination of kind of where my stock market journey kind of began because, I was around a lot of retirees. A lot of retirees had money in the stock market and things like that. But what I found was many of these folks, they bought their homes with cash. They came from the Midwest, they came from the East Coast, wherever. They wanted to retire out in Arizona because Arizona, like, the weather's nice. Like, in the middle of winter, it's still like 65, 70 degrees. Like, you don't have to deal with the snow. You don't have to deal with 20-degree weather and 10-degree weather and below freezing weather and all that stuff that you have to deal with in much of the country, right? And so a lot of people would move out to Sun City West. They would just buy cash. They wouldn't put it on a mortgage. Are you kidding me? Like for most of those folks, they didn't see that, right? But what's crazy, though, is, areas like that, it's so small, though. I understand this comment and where they're coming from, but it's just such a small amount. And so at the end of the day, something's going to break because the only people that really pay cash for a house and are not impacted by mortgage rates are, once again, retirees. So maybe like some of the baby boomer crowd that just has, that sort of money that they can buy a $500,000 house cash. or it's super high net worth individuals. I mean, super high net worth individuals. We're talking people with net worths of 25 million plus, which, I just kind of, put out the Phoenix area here, right? So you might have little small segments of North Scottsdale in there, South Scottsdale, some Fountain Hills little area, and then Sun City West. Outside of that, I can tell you the rest of the whole area, that massive conglomerate of a city there, most of those folks are affected by mortgage rates. And when they're going to buy a home, or if they're going to think about buying a home, it's a problem, okay? It's a problem. So just some food for thought there. Something's going to break. The rubber band will break eventually, and we'll see which way it goes, okay? Palantir. So let's get into Palantir stock. This stock had a great day yesterday. I believe it was up 6% plus yesterday. Up 6% plus again here today. We're up over $5,000 on the stock here today, up $38,000 in total on the shares in the public count. So stock's doing very well for us, and now sitting at 146% gain year to date. Oh my gosh, okay, I wish my cost basis was as low as the stock was year to date, but I got some shares that are higher. So yeah, my year to date gain, or my overall gains for the stock are like about half of the percent in total. Like, that's just a crazy number. Anybody that was buying Palantir at the end of last year and beginning of this year for the first time, woo, did you guys make out like bandits? All right, so some big news on a few different fronts in regards to Palantir. First one up here is Cathie Wood is on a buying spree of Palantir stock. I mean, absolute buying spree. She just purchased another 1 million plus shares here recently. And, if I don't know how many of you guys keep track of Cathie Wood. I know it's not very popular after, obviously, the devastation of her fund last year. But I can just tell you, she has been buying Palantir stock left and right over the past month or so. So I think that's interesting. As I always stated in regards to Cathie Wood and Palantir, it never made sense why she sold out of this stock back in the day. If you really believe in innovation and you really are a believer in AI, you can't not own Palantir. Just bottom line, if you're a believer of innovation, you're a believer of AI, you can't not own Palantir stock. You need to have some sort of position in the stock. It's just crazy. So anyways, she's buying shares left and right, and I think that's definitely worth noting. The much bigger news, in my personal opinion, is this here, okay? This came out yesterday. Shares of Palantir obviously were higher yesterday by about 6% or so. The company was awarded a $250 million contract with the U.S. Department of Defense. The U.S. Department of Defense awarded Palantir a $250 million firm fixed price contract to perform research and development services in the areas of artificial intelligence and machine learning. The contract has an estimated completion date of September 25th, 2026, and the work locations and funding are to be determined with each order, okay? Whew! Oh, man, is that big, okay? Listen, if this was Apple, $250 million is a rounding error. Who cares about a $250 million contract? For Palantir, this is monumental deal. $250 million is massive for a company Palantir size, folks. This is such good news from the financial front, but also, you know what this shows in a massive, massive way? This shows clearly the U.S. government and the military is well aware that Palantir is one of the leaders in AI, and they want to use Palantir in a substantial way, and that's why they gave them this massive contract, because this is not a small amount of money for Palantir. This is a huge deal. And the other thing I got to wonder, are we going to have more deals coming? I don't know. We'll see when it comes to kind of the government side. So this is phenomenal. And that's, not like it's a 10-year contract or something like that. We're talking about estimated completion date of 2026. It's 3 years from now, folks, okay? That's big money. What are we talking, $80 million? What would it be $83 million a year or something like that, right? It's a lot, right? And that leads into the kind of thought process around Dan Ives last month. Dan Ives calls Palantir the Messi of AI, right? And it looks like the Messi of AI. The government wouldn't be working these deals and giving them a $250 million contract if they're not, right? They wouldn't have the sort of demand they have for AIP right now, and just about every commercial customer out there trying to contact Palantir. So I'm really bullish on Palantir's commercial business in 2024, and I'm slowly becoming more bullish on Palantir's government business in 2024 and beyond, which I have not been bullish on the government business for quite some time. I'm starting to go a little bit more bullish on the government business, so that's phenomenal news. Tesla with a nice move up here today, okay? Some big news stories in regards to Tesla. Oh boy, okay. They're not the most fun stories to share, okay? So, first one up here. EEOC sues Tesla, alleging widespread racist harassment of black workers, retaliation against those who spoke out. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, that's at EEOC, has sued Tesla for allegedly allowing widespread racist harassment of black employees and retaliating against black workers who spoke out against this. Tesla was previously sued by a state civil rights agency in California over related allegations. A jury also previously ordered Tesla to pay a black former worker, Owen Diaz, about $3.2 million in damages after finding he endured racist discrimination while working there in 2015. So obviously, many, many years ago. I don't know where this goes. At the end of the day, is it going to have a material financial impact on the company? Probably not. But is it a really bad look on whatever happens here? Absolutely. And I saw these headlines all over the place. It's not good headlines, okay? You don't ever want to have those sorts of headlines coming out against you as a company. So we'll see where it all goes. Is something that we're having to deal with. And the biggest thing is this something that's going on recently? As in, is this something that's happened in the past couple of years? Like past 2 or 3 years? Or are we talking we're going back to like 2015 and things that happened back in 2015? I don't know. All I know is it's a situation the company has to deal with, and the headlines look about as bad as you can possibly get in regards to that, especially when you look more into the details of that whole situation. Now, also in regards to Tesla enters in critical trial over fatal autopilot crash. This trial, folks, okay, is one of the biggest things, in my opinion, we've got going on in the United States of America. And I know that probably sounds crazy when you first hear it. I truly believe if you think about life or death, this is one of the most important trials we got going on in the entire United States of America right now. And there's a lot of stuff always going on. But based upon the outcome of however this trial goes is really going to determine the future of self-driving vehicles, of autonomous tech when it comes to vehicles driving themselves, how many companies want to compete here or don't want to compete here, how states' legislation could be in regards to laws and regulations, the U.S. government in general, other countries and how they view this. This is insanely huge, folks. This is like everything depending upon how this trial goes for the future of this. And the way I'll put it to you like this, right? This is a number of deaths, crashes, and motor vehicles in fatal crashes, over the years, essentially, right? And I just kind of pulled up the last decade or so in regards to numbers. Just in 2021, for instance, we lost almost 43,000 people died in automobile accidents. Most of those people were innocent, right? I'm sure some of those were like people that were way over the limit when it comes to, how much to drink and, they got in an accident and things like that. But I would guarantee like most of those people are very innocent people. So those innocent lives lost on a monumental scale. And never mind that, imagine how many people were severely injured in accidents, right? They didn't die, but they got severely injured, and that changed their life for, many people would view as the worst forever, right? So, the way I kind of think about it, right? It was September 11th, what was that, a couple weeks ago? I mean, all over the news and everything, y'all never forget September 11th. And we always talk about it every year. September 11th comes along and you got to mourn and remember what happened, right? Never forget. It's like, man, I remember I was in the 6th grade. That's definitely a day I would wish I could forget. It was a dramatic day for the United States of America, right? And we always want to bring that up time and time again. But here's the thing. There was less than 3,000 innocent people lost lives on September 11th. And yet we're willing to put up every year with over 10x the amount of innocent lives lost every year. We have 10 to 15 September 11th happen every year in the United States of America, and no one blinks a freaking eye. Just think about that for a moment. Let that sink in. How stupid is that? But that's human reality. That's human thoughts. It doesn't make any sense, guys, okay? At some point, we got to put our foot down and say, this is ridiculous. Humans can't freaking drive. We're all killing each other, and this is out of hand. But no one pays attention to it. And so that's why this trial is going to be so important on what the results are of this trial. Because if it's not good results, it's going to mean ultimately we keep doing what we've been doing, which means another 40,000 plus people will die next year in auto accidents, another 40,000 plus people the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. At some point in time, it would be nice if we could get auto accidents down to the sort of numbers like, a plane crash, right? If a plane crash happened in the United States of America, everybody would lose their mind. Like, oh my gosh, this is insane. 250 people died in a plane crash. That'd be nuts, right? It'd be all over the news for a week. But yet, 43,000 people died. in auto accidents in 2021, no one blinked an eye, man. It's time for that to change. And so that's why whatever happens here is monumental for the future of humans, okay, in life or death. Meta stock. So Meta stock, some big news out here in regards to Meta. So Meta made a nice move up here. We're up over $11,000 in regards to Meta here today. Stocks definitely had a tremendous year. But in regards to Meta, did you guys see this? Okay, so obviously Meta showed off Quest 3, which is extremely exciting and big. But Meta showed off these smart glasses that look pretty darn exciting, I got to be honest. Okay, so with these new smart glasses that you're going to be able to start to order in October, and I believe the price point is going to be like $300, like really low price point. You're going to be able to obviously do video from that, live stream from that, straight to like Instagram, for instance. You could live stream straight from your glasses, so from your perspective, which is a pretty darn cool thing. I got to say that, okay? Live stream directly from the glasses. Those glasses, you're going to be able to do things like, let's say you're in a foreign country and there's some sort of sign and you're like, I don't know what that sign says. You're in front of a restaurant or something. It could actually, you can look at that sign and it'll basically translate that whole sign for you on the glasses, and it'll say, you know, basically what that sign says, so you understand. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you're like, what is this, you know, food dish? And, you know, you can ask the glasses that, and literally right on the screen right there, boom, it'll, you know, explain to you exactly what that certain food dish is, right? Or you're somewhere and you're like, what is this thing I'm looking at? And it'll be able to tell you the history of that. So, I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff. And I know some other folks have kind of brought up other things, like people that have kids, for instance, and like there's certain moments that happen that are so cute, and you just, you know, you try to capture it in your mind because you're not actively recording, but sometimes you don't remember, and you're like, man, I wish I could relive that experience with this. That might actually be possible, right? So yeah, the technology there is going to be pretty epic, and it seems like it's about that time when we're going to start seeing technology like this actually come through. Google Glass was an interesting concept which came out, what was that, 10 years ago, if not over 10 years ago. But it just wasn't, the timing wasn't right. The timing has to be right for these sorts of technologies to take off. And it seems like it's about that time for technology like this to take off. So I say that's exciting, and that's exciting for the future of Meta there, right? Also, Zuckerberg went on Lex Fridman. They did a brand new show. So definitely looking forward to getting that. And from my understanding, this is like basically their avatars, but it makes them feel like they're literally in the room with themselves. Which they're not actually in the same room, which is a fascinating whole situation. So Meta obviously is clearly the leader, in my opinion, when it comes to all this AR, VR related stuff by a mile. I don't really think there's anybody even close to them. Based upon all the things I'm seeing and based upon what I saw at the Meta event, I think Meta's in front of everybody by quite a bit in AR, VR, and potentially even AI. We'll see where they go with AI, but, you know, Zuckerberg's got a pretty good squad there over at Meta, I'll tell you that much, okay? Now, in regards to the market here today was supposed to be a really nice bounce back day. I thought it was a little weak, guys. This is a little worrisome for the market. This was not a strong bounce back day. I mean, you were expecting, after the type of sell-off we've had recently, I mean, a lot of people were expecting, you know, at least a 1 to 2% jump in the NASDAQ, in the indexes in general. Dow was up 0.35%, S&P 500 up 0.59%. NASDAQ wasn't even up 1% today. I thought that was weak sauce. I'll be honest with you guys. Very, very weak. This was strange. Did you guys see how much the put to call ratio fell today? It was down nearly 20% here today. Okay? This is basically how many puts are bought versus how many call options are bought. And usually how this ratio works is usually it should be under 1. If you're ever over 1, then that means like people are loading up on put options for whatever moment in time we're at right then, versus buying call options, which would be a strange phenomenon, but it does happen sometimes. So I thought that was strange that it was down that violently today, nearly a 20% move down. It almost feels like the market's ready to start going back bullish again, but yet the reaction from the indexes didn't really, you know, spell that today, which is intriguing, right? Here's a good look at the last 5 years when it comes to this put-to-call ratio, which, by the way, if you don't have put-to-call ratio on your watch list, I would add it to your watch list. I think it's something interesting and useful to keep an eye on and to see how bearish and bullish are people getting in the market, right? Usually when people are buying way too many put options, it usually means you're probably within a month to 2 months of a big rally in the market. That's just usually how it works out. If everybody and their grandma is loading up on put options and you see this put option ratio go crazy high, usually within the next 1 to 2 months, you're going to see a massive market rally. It's just how it is. People get way too bearish. And it's just, if just everybody's loading up on puts, like at some point in time, you've already priced everything in by that moment. Think about that for a moment, right? So this is the past 5 years. There's only been a few time periods where we jumped over 1 in regards to put to call ratio. Back here, we did it right here, right here. This might have been around, I don't know if this actually right here was probably around November, December 2018, right there, when everybody's very, very bearish. You had some moments in 2019. This was right before Rona crash there. Then we had a few spike ups, obviously, in 2022. We know how bad the market got hit in 2022. It was an extremely bearish year, probably the most easy year to be bearish since probably 08, right? And then recently, we hit a very high bearish number of nearly around 1, right? So just remember, if you ever go over 1 when it comes to put to call ratio, you're in a very scared market, a very bearish market, and you're probably within a month or two of a massive rally. Usually, that's how it works, okay? Fubo. So Fubo, interesting things happening here with Fubo, okay? So I noticed the stock is starting to strengthen up again, and the quarter's about to close. So here today, I'm recording this at September 28th, right? So the quarter's about to close for Fubo. Now, here's where things get fun, okay? The assumption is Fubo's probably beat on their subscriber numbers by quite a bit, okay? So there's a potential that next week Fubo could come out if they want. They don't have to do this, but if they have huge subscriber numbers that have come in, they could come out next week and make an announcement Monday, Tuesday, whatever day, and say, hey, we actually beat our numbers quite substantially when it comes to subscriber number. This is our subscriber number. They don't have to announce anything else. They don't have to go into their revenue or their profitability. They don't have to do any of that. If, let's just say, their subscriber number is much higher than they expect it, they could literally just come out and say that this week. And so I think some of the strength that's coming in that stock is some people maybe just thinking about, is that a possibility? And it might be a possibility. I wouldn't bank on it. I'm certainly not going to play some call options for next week banking on it, but it's always a potential that's out there. They might just wait till earnings to announce it, but you never know. If you come in with a nice beat and you want to get some more momentum going in your stock, come out and pre-announce, hey, we just beat our numbers when it comes to subscriber numbers. We're not going to get into revenue, not any of that. We'll get into that in the quarterly numbers. We'll see, but it's definitely a potential. I saw Apple today. Nope. Apple's not even keeping up with the market now, guys. This stock underperformed the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ massively here today. This stock has a lot of weakness in it right here. Something's up. Something's up. That's all I'll say about that. Something's up. People are looking to cash in regards to Apple. It's way, way too weak right now. Way too weak. Speaking about weak stocks, WBA. Is this stock going to go under 20? It might. It might. And I never thought WBA would go under 20. That's just ridiculous. Under 30, I could always see that being a potential. Under 20, it's stupid. What are we talking about here? This is just dumb, okay? The market's gone dumb when it comes to some of these stocks. At the end of the day, it's just wild, man. Wild. That's all I'll say about that. Wild situation. It doesn't make any sense. That's all I'll say, okay? Nike. So Nike earnings came out here just a few hours ago. Here's what's going on with Nike. A lot of people are like, oh, their revenue is going to go negative. What's going on with this business model? There's some okay stuff and some bad stuff going on with Nike, okay? So revenues grew 2%. I have that blue. So basically, if you don't know my color coding scheme, green means good, red means bad, blue means okay. So revenues came at 2% growth. Cost of sales were up 2%. That's okay. Gross profit grew about $100 million year over year. So that's okay for Nike. Gross margin fell just a tiny bit, 44.2% versus 44.3% the same quarter last year. So you never want to see gross margins falling. Demand creation expense, that was up substantially, folks. That was up about 13% year over year. So I did that one red because you don't want to see a double-digit type number when you've got 2% revenue growth. That's a little out of hand, right? I thought their operating overhead expense, they kept that in line, only 2% up there. I was impressed with that. Total selling general administrative expenses, I did that blue because they're up about 5%. So that's kind of more what I would have liked to see with demand creation expense, is more of a 5%, maybe 6% number there. Now, as a percent of revenue, when it comes to those expenses, up to 31.8% versus 30.9% in the same quarter last year. Not something you want to see. That means expenses are growing as a percent of overall revenue. Not something you want to see. Income before income tax is a very important line item here. $1.64 billion. That's versus $1.82 billion in the same quarter last year. That's down 10%, folks. Extremely important number. Down 10%, not good. Not good. But also factor in the stock price is down like 85 billion% in the past year or so, okay? Not that much, but it's been a very bad year for Nike going into these earnings, so some of this is probably priced in, right? Net income for the company looks like it only dropped 1%, but this is where it pays to understand income statements, right? Because look at their effective tax rate. Their effective tax rate in this most recent quarter is only 12%, okay? Versus the same quarter last year was nearly 20%. So it made their net income look way better than it really was, okay? So yeah, their net income looks like it was only down 1%. But if you take out the tax implications of that, it was down substantially more than that, folks, okay? Basic EPS was up 1% on a year-over-year basis there. As far as our balance sheet, also didn't like what's going on with the balance sheet. I know they're doing some share buybacks and dividends and all that stuff, right? But cash and cash equivalents was down 15%. Short-term investments was down 44%. Inventories was down 10%. So that was a one good thing I really liked in regards to the balance sheet for Nike overall, is they're getting inventories down. Great job, Nike. Long-term debt for the company didn't move. So I'm like, you guys, you dropped cash 15%. You dropped short-term investments 44%, and yet we didn't take anything off long-term debt. Not what I like to see. Shareholder equity was down 12% on a year-over-year basis. Not something I like to see either there, okay? And remember, Nike has a big fundamentals-based investor base. And so I think this is one of the reasons the stock has sold off hard over this past year, is people looking at this and like, why is shareholder equity down 12% year over year? We don't want to see that, right? Nike has a USA problem. Let's call it what it is, okay? If they break down their numbers by market, and look at North America. North America footwear was down 2% year over year, and apparel was down 1% year over year. So USA business actually shrunk for the company on a year-over-year basis. And that's something you should almost never see from Nike. Now, on the flip side, everything outside the USA is actually saving the company right now. Europe, footwear was up 10%, which footwear is always going to be the biggest, most dominant business for Nike. Greater China footwear was up 11%, and apparel was up 14%. Footwear in Asia Pacific and Latin America was up 7%. So things outside Nike are saving Nike right now, outside the US, and USA business is hurting Nike right now. Now, the stock's popping big after hours. I've seen it up 7-8%, somewhere in there. Decent guidance for the company. I believe the real reason that stock is up 7-8% after hours, in my personal opinion, is the stock has just been a beaten down dog. And as long as they didn't come through with a disaster quarter, you could see a pop. They didn't come through with a disaster quarter. The disaster quarter would have been revenues going down year over year and a really bad guidance. They didn't come in with a horrible guidance. They didn't come in with shrinking revenues. They grew 2%, and that's enough to get by and get a 7-8% gain in after hours. That's just bottom line with that. When your stock's already been hit so heavily this year, as Nike stock has. So now I'm kind of in a little bit of no man's land when it comes to Nike. I don't know. I'm going to reassess the situation. I could buy some more shares. If it goes over $100 a share, I don't know if I'm going to keep buying it if it goes over 100. If it goes over 110, then probably for sure not. But, I love Nike for the long term. I huge believer in the company. But I got to say, some of these numbers, especially the balance sheet numbers, were a little depressing, I thought. So I'm going to be a little picky when it comes to Nike, especially when there's so many deals out there right now. And I mean, there's so many deals in this market. So I could choose to, be picky about pricing right now because there's just a lot of freaking deals in this market. And there's a lot of stocks calling for your money right now in this market. So now, as far as me, one, I was buying earlier this week. We obviously saw some huge dips earlier in the week, so I was buying during that time. And I'm going to be buying stocks tomorrow. I will be buying stocks tomorrow. If you want to see the moves I'm making in the market tomorrow, then join my Patreon. That will be pinned comment down there. You get access to see the moves I'm making. It's $19 a month. You get to see all the moves I'm making in there for $19 a month. Like, that's a joke. Like, you should definitely join in there. And then if you want to join the higher tier, which is $69 a month, that one comes with also Discord chat access. And that one also comes with a free course that should help you out tremendously. So if you want to take your knowledge to the next level, you'll really enjoy that Patreon tier. And so once again, that's pinned comment down there. And look forward to seeing you guys in there. Much love as always, and have a great day.